I put a picture of a flower up, right, and it's coming through the ground, and the roots are growing out, and the roots are continuing to grow out, and everybody wants to see results. Shoot, nobody wants to see results.
I don't think the game's over.
Welcome into Triple Zeros. I'm your host, Josh Buckhalter. This is the Anti-Hot Take Sports Show. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at JoshGBuck. Hit up the Facebook page, Clocker Sports, website, clockersports.com, email address, clockersports@gmail.com. And, of course, you can always follow the show on Facebook and Twitter at 30spod. That's the number 30 and pod on Facebook and Twitter. That voice that you heard was head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, Nick Sirianni, getting a little deep and introspective man, he tried to be deep. And, lately we've been going through some really fun quotes, and I think that might be a new thing that we just, the quote of the week. We've been doing it. Might as well name it. Anyway, we'll get to that in a second because that was an interesting quote. There was an interesting game on tonight that did not start off that way. Did not want to see it go down the way it went down, but it happened, and I made some money off of it. So let's get to it. The Green Bay Packers handed the Arizona Cardinals their first loss of the season. And listen, here's the thing about this. We're going to start, before I even tell you what the score was, just understand. Remember everybody that was talking about the Packers, that they needed to blow it up because Aaron Rodgers wasn't interested after that 38-3 loss in New Orleans? Yeah, buddy, 24-21. Without Devontae Adams, without both of his starting pass rushers, without his left tackle, Aaron Rodgers is a bad man, and it makes me sick. All right? Sick of it. I'm tired of seeing it. Sometimes some players just get the breaks, man, and that was one of those times where he just got the breaks. At the end of the game, Kyler Murray tried to throw a pass to AJ Green. Did not work. For some reason, Green went to go block, and he never even turned around for the pass. It ended up in the hands of former Cardinal cornerback, current Packer cornerback, Rasul Douglas. It was a really interesting looking play, almost like Douglas knew what it was, probably because he might have had some kind of inclination. Murray said that the interception was just a miscommunication. Here's the thing, though. That's just the breaks. That's what I'm talking about. Those are the moments where you're just like, damn it, how did they come away with that, right? In that moment, I feel like if it had been the other way around, if that was Rodgers throwing into the end zone, the DB wouldn't have turned around and his receiver would have caught it looking crazy. Like, it just goes that way sometimes. Rodgers 184, 2 touchdowns. He didn't do well. It wasn't a great game. Like I said, it was really slow moving. 10-7 at the end of the half, but then both teams scored a touchdown in each quarter in the second half. Packers are 7-1 now. They've won 7 straight. Arizona just took their first L. I don't know what else there is to say about Aaron Rodgers and what he's doing with the Packers and what their season is turning into as they try to go on their own version. I'm not gonna say what they're trying to go on their own because they're ripping off the Bulls, but whatever. Their little farewell tour that they're on right now. They're kicking ass and taking names. Can't even front because we could talk about how it wasn't a blowout and it didn't that and they didn't do this and they didn't do that. He didn't put up gaudy stat lines. That's all well and good, but they walked out with a W in hostile territory against a team that had been previously undefeated. There's not too much you could say about that. Kyler Murray, 274, no touchdowns, 2 picks. Wasn't great. No running game. They got to get the balance back on that sometimes. I think the temptation comes around to not necessarily run the ball if they could. James Conner did get 2 touchdowns. He got 2 touchdowns. But they only ran, aside from Kyler, 2 main running backs only ran the ball 12 times for 52 yards. So they got three scores out of it, and Kyler had 6 carries, 21 yards on his own. You just still know that without the same thing with Buffalo. I say the same thing about Buffalo. Without that semblance of a competent run game, and Buffalo actually has it, and Arizona too, but they don't use it consistently enough. And when you don't, well, that Brandon Staley, head coach of the Chargers, talking about play action and the importance of running the football. And he says it's more about the attempts than it is about the effectiveness. Wink Martindale said the same thing, defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. So I in the end, wrap it up before I got a lot to get to, not a lot of time. I'm stalling in this game. In the end, if this farewell tour does not end up in a championship for Green Bay, I'm not sure that we can necessarily call it a failure, because I do know that we're seeing some special things every time they take the field, and it's really disgusting. I'm tired of it, okay? Nah, put it on. Just to let you know, I'm tired of it. Hate seeing it. Did well. Back to the AFC. I mentioned the Buffalo Bills and Don Martindale of the Baltimore Ravens, but the Baltimore Ravens gave up a big W to the Cincinnati Bengals, allowing the Bengals to pull in the first place in the AFC. Listen, in the North, sorry. I don't understand why it is that we have to do this. It was 41-17, by the way. They blew them out. It wasn't close. I don't understand why we have to do this dance every time a good team loses of, oh my goodness, is this the end? Have they been figured out? This is the ultimate blueprint. They put the book out. They did. You just got to go out there and do this. One thing that you can't do is necessarily translate from one team to another. And I mean by that, personnel doesn't fit, schemes don't fit, just because the players aren't the same. It's almost like in the NBA, and we'll talk about the NBA a little bit later, but how the NBA has gotten everybody going small ball. Not every player is suited for small ball. Some guys need to be big for their position because that's part of their effectiveness. It's similar in this, but I'm not sure that you're going to get the same amount of pushback, because the results is a passing-oriented league. And when you don't get that results, like you see with Justin Fields, you don't get the instant results, man. They're coming for your neck. And Patrick Mahomes went from being a preseason MVP favorite to out of the top 10. They're struggling right now. But do you think he just lost the talent? Like it's just gone? So can we just not do that after every time one of the top teams, oh, this is it. This is the end. They figured him out. It's over with for this guy. That team can't do it anymore. I'm pretty sure they'll do something now. I've been saying since the beginning that the Chiefs are going to have trouble when they play the upper echelon teams, and that's who their losses have been against. But we got to chill out with what happened. Oh, my goodness. No. It's just so bad. It gets to be a bit much. Shout out to the Bengals though. Joe Burrow is the truth. I don't know if that's really supposed to be a surprise to anybody that the Bengals, or that Joe Burrow rather, is doing his thug thizzle. Smoking Joe is the guy. I thought we all knew that. No, did we not all know that? I think we all know that now. It's clear. The Bengals though have had a much better defense than I think anybody was counting on them having. And Jamar Chase has certainly shaken off those early issues with catching the football. So the Bengals have a good team. I don't know if they're going to stay in the top spot. I know the Ravens are going to be looking for a little revenge later on in the season, but they thumped them. So don't necessarily think you're going to go get it. You might not get it. You just might not get it. But that does not mean that the team, the scheme, any of that stuff won't work going forward. That's just, we got to stop that. Oh, my God. I hate that so much. Oh, they figured him out. That's it. That's all. That's all she wrote. All right. I better leave long enough. You heard the teaser there in the opener. Head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, Nick Sirianni, talking about the process. Something about Philadelphia and the processes. They gotta process everything. It's the Philly cheese. Fun fact. Learned not that long ago. I don't even know if this is really true. I'm going to throw it out there anyway. But the Philly cheesesteak has the cheese whiz on it. So processed cheese too. Listen. All right. That's enough of that sidetrack. Here we go. This is head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, Nick Sirianni, talking about his team's growth and development along the way.
I said, right, that the results aren't there right now. But what's going on here is that there's growth under the soil. I put a picture of a flower up, right, and that it's coming through the ground, and the roots are growing out, and the roots are continuing to grow out. And everybody wants to see results. Shoot, nobody wants to see results more than us, right? We want to see results too. But it's really important that the foundation is being built, and that the roots are growing out. And the only way the roots grow out every single day, and they grow stronger and they grow better, is if that we all water, we all fertilize, we all do our part. Each individual coach, each individual player, everybody in the building, that we do our part to water, to make sure that when it does pop out, it really pops out and it grows. And so that was my message today. And so I'm always, like I said to you guys before, I'm always thinking of different messages to give to the team. That either messages that I think that really fit the situation that I've gotten before in a situation from another head coach, or that from my dad or whatever. And so that was my message today, because we are going through tough times and everybody wants to see results. But just keep doing what we're doing, keep watering, and look at yourself first, and know are you watering and are you fertilizing every day? So when it's time to pop, it'll pop.
Are you? Are you watering and fertilizing every day so that when it's time to pop, it'll pop? Are you? Are you looking at yourself and asking yourself that question? I don't know. Listen, so like I said, we've been going through a lot of really good quotes, really solid quotes. Even going back to Fangio talking about Harbaugh and how that's how they do things, like really good stuff. That one was not one of them, and it's not because he didn't mean well. And I know what he was getting at. I think we all understand the message there. You grow it, and it takes time, but you have to keep on trying to foster that environment for it to grow. I get it. The problem is he said way too much. The problem is he overtalked, and he ended up in some very, very familiar territory to me, because it really started to sound like Matt Nagy. And I don't know if anybody else, if any Philadelphia fans could put that connection together. I don't know how much Matt Nagy presence that they've heard, but that felt so Matt Nagy that if you close your eyes as a Bears fan, I promise you would have thought that it was either him or a relative. He even got the salt and pepper in the beer to make you at a glance you have to double take. He said the water, the plant, are you watering and fertilizing, so when it's time to pop, it'll pop. It makes sense, but with all of that stuff in between, it just was not. It wasn't a hit. It wasn't a hit. And again, I commend him. Like you said, he's always trying to find new sayings and things like that for the team. Might want to leave this one back. you might want to file this one away in the circular drawer, okay? I'm not sure that it hits the way that it should, because when you deliver it the way that you do, like that, you get wordy like this, and then it sounds a little off, as if I am trying to put in more stuff to fill time. That's what you get. That's how you sound. You better water and fertilize every day, damn it. The Carolina Panthers benched Sam Darnold as they got thumped by the New York Giants this past week. And the funny thing about that is they passed on a lot of quarterbacks in the draft. They decided not to trade for one. Rumors were that they were going to try to get involved in the Deshaun Watson trade. That never came to fruition. And now they're talking about that might just be the Dolphins only, that he's only waived his no trade clause to Miami. Wild. That he has options. But Darnold getting benched is funny because he's getting scapegoated again, in my opinion. And you hear a lot of talk about Joe Brady and the offensive coordinator for the Panthers and how he's not been able to get it to click. But and to my surprise, his head coach even kind of, fed into that whole thing. He don't think he necessarily called him out, but he definitely was feeding into that whole vibe. And my only question is, wait a second, because Matt Rhule was brought in to do all of this stuff and to be this whole guy, to bring it all together. So to already be passing the buck to your offensive coordinator when the offense hasn't been great, but the quarterback's not great, the pick of the trade for the quarterback wasn't a great idea. I'm not sure why Lombardi, who was doing good and then defense kind of figured them out a little bit. They know Sam Darnold doesn't want to really challenge them deep. He doesn't really even look at his Robbie Anderson a lot of the times. Christian McCaffrey's been out, so there's a lot of things working against them. But they went into it, I think, a little bit not backwards, but like you traded for Stephon Gilmore in this season, and I'm not sure that this is the season to do so. I just don't see them challenging anybody. And he wants a lot of money. And he's 30-something. He's coming off surgery. Like, you can't compound your own misfortunes with stuff like they're 3-4. They still have a chance, but I mean, like, what are we doing? The Eagles, by the way, are 2-5. So it just didn't sit well with me, man. The Darnold decision was always one that bothered me, because I'm like, what did they see that made them think that, oh, we can get him out of the situation in New York that's been horrible, but that now has him admitting that he's seeing ghosts on the field. They didn't protect him any better. bad. It was a bad move. Put the once proud franchise back a couple of years by passing up on some talented passers in this draft and going with Sam Darnold because coaches are egotistical. They can fix any guy. That's usually how that goes. We're gonna wrap up this segment here with this. My Bears got obliterated by the Buccaneers. Tampa Bay Tom remembered that the Bears made him forget what down it was, and it did not go well for the Bears as they were destroyed by the Buccaneers 38-3, excuse me. I tried to give them 3 points. I don't think I expected them to win. I don't think I expected it to be close. But the complete and utter failures on that offense are ridiculous. And as I wrote for Last Word on Pro Football this week in my Bears preview for the game against the 49ers, these are two very similar teams. Very similar teams. Defenses are strong. Offenses are limited, at least limited by the fact that the quarterback is either capable of being that guy, Dalton and Garoppolo, or just not quite ready yet in Fields and Trey Lance. There's weapons. There's a line that can get the job done in certain instincts for the Bears case. But John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are already reportedly, on the verge of facing some heat. Now, granted, they got a lot of money, so there's some chance that they won't be gone anyway. But there's already reports surfacing of them getting some heat. Let me remind you, this team was just in the Super Bowl like 2-3 years ago. Yet the Bears, coming off of back-to-back 8-8s, limping, backing their way into the postseason, getting thumped in the postseason every time they do make the postseason. What are we doing? What are we doing here? You're bringing that back, but you got guys talking about, hey, man, you guys don't get it done now. It's regressed. You're regressing every year. Remember when Matt Nagy got hired and he said that it takes a couple of years for this offense to get installed? Some of these guys have been here for a couple of years and they still don't seem to get it. Oh, my gosh. So frustrating. It's so frustrating. Switching gears. The NBA had a not full slate, but a really interesting slate. Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies got to 2-2, beating the Golden State Warriors. Ja Morant is the leading scorer in the NBA, by the way. Let me put that out there. Followed by Kevin Durant. And, at least entering play. I got to check what he is after that game. But Ja Morant is showing me a different level of aggression that I don't think I think we knew he had it, but I think we wanted to see him kind of display it consistently. And, boy, obviously he's done that. But he's talked about, now how he's earning the respect of his peers and the voters. And I would say, I think a lot of times some of the athletes, and maybe it's the way the stories are presented to them, but a lot of times these stories about wanting to see more out of a guy is taken as a negative, but it should be viewed more as a positive because when you request that means it's in there. You should be able to accomplish this. Ja 37-5. 30 points, 7 boards, 5 assists against the Warriors as Steph had 36, 7, and 8. He was stuck on 36. He didn't score in the fourth quarter or overtime. He didn't score. Let me say that again. Steph Curry didn't score in the fourth quarter or overtime. I mean, Memphis, man, when they need to lock down, they can lock down. Steph has always had some late game struggles. Warriors got outscored 31-22 in the fourth quarter and overtime of that game. So just keep an eye out for Ja. I told y'all before the season that the Grizzlies were my team to, at least in the Western Conference, to take that Atlanta Hawks from last year style leap. Hopefully they can keep it up, though, because it gets tough. The division, the conference, rather, is very, very tough and top heavy. So once you get to those big dogs, you will see what you're really made of. They're missing Dylan Brooks, I believe, as well. So shout outs to that, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. The Grizzlies are definitely building something that other teams in the West should definitely be concerned with. So, staying in the Western Conference, Anthony Edwards, Minnesota Timberwolves, calls out his team following their loss to the New Orleans Pelicans. Edwards said that they got to lock in. I'm going to paraphrase here. Lock in, got to lock the F in. Said that the guys were thinking it was sweet coming in, playing the Pelicans, and that they bust their ass. And he's not wrong. Part of the problem is with Cat and D'Lo, Karl-Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell, is that they are supremely talented, but sometimes motivated. And that doesn't mean they're not playing hard, but they're definitely not playing with purpose. And I know you're probably like, oh, come on. Now you're trying to do the Zen thing. And I'm really not. I'm also the same person, though, who says that there's a difference between being the best at something and being the greatest at something. But that's a whole other conversation for an entirely different day and probably a whole other show. So back to the method at hand here. Minnesota is currently sitting 3-1. Their first loss came to the New Orleans Pelicans, like I said. And that prompted Edwards to call the team out for a game that honestly happens. And by that, I mean not excusing it away, but it happens when they had the defending world champs on the docket the next night, or a couple nights later, rather, in Milwaukee. They won that game, 113 to 108. They lost the Pelicans 98 to 107. So they lost. It was an almost double-digit loss. To go from that, because it was a back-to-back with the Pelicans, by the way, both at home, splitting. You go from that on to the road to the Bucks, who are rolling to start the season. And you get a big W on Wednesday. That's the Anthony Edwards effect. Because you wouldn't have heard anything about it from Cat and D'Lo. Not to that extent. Not to that magnitude, not with that level of dissatisfaction. And that's why I say Anthony Edwards is the best player on that team. He might not put up the most numbers yet. It's coming. He is the best player on that team. He will be the best player on that team. Whatever, however you want me to phrase it to make you know that I think that it's Edwards, Cat, D'Lo. And if I had my say, it would be that way in the pecking order. Now, he's a young dude, and he's sometimes brash. But he speaks in a way that players will respond to. It's direct, it's sincere, and if you don't have that, you end up getting a wayward organization. So I think they found a stud in Anthony Edwards. I do wish that Minnesota would get it together. I don't know. I'm the guy who says that there's a lot of teams that are just there for glorified farm systems. I'm also the guy who will say that those teams need to be better because they're professionals. So stop, being also rans and not fulfilling your potential. You know what I'm saying. Dang it. Easy for me to say. I don't think that you'll see that with Edwards. He doesn't seem like the kind of cat to rest on any accomplishment. So I just think it'll go more for him. That's why I can't help. Has Cat and D'Lo improved? Has D'Lo improved? These guys, his shot selection has been better. Edwards is the best player on the team. I'm not going to keep nitpicking at them. Free throws. Is it free throws that are getting James Harden, or is it his fitness? Now, we have seen the graphics of Harden averaging career low or lows since he was back in OKC, free throw numbers, and everybody said that the new rules, which were supposed to stop Trae Young, by the way, and have not done so to that extent, have gotten Harden taking a, not career low, because a few years ago, no, it's career low. Wait, no, since he was in OKC. So I was right the first time. Trust your instincts. He's averaging his fewest free throw attempts per game since he was back in OKC at 7.3. He's hitting 86.1. He's only averaging, quote unquote, did I say 6? I'm sorry. He's averaging 3 attempts per game. So it's his lowest since 2010, his rookie season. And it's lower than that. Damn, James. I got to look at these numbers again. See, I had misread that completely. Yeah, this is his worst. Not good. Not good, Jan. And he's averaging just 16 points per game. Harden, as you know, has been a 20-point per game scorer for the past, it seems like forever. If I can get this to sort out the right way. The one thing about the stats list is when you sort it and you miss your sort point and you have to go back around, yeah, it's rough. This is his fewest points per game since his second season in the NBA, again with OKC. Even in his third season, he averaged more at 16.8. He's at 16.6 right now. He has been a 20-point per game scorer since 2013. Free throws matter, folks. He was double-digit free throws for 5-6 years straight. 7 out of 8. Like, that's a lot. And he's not getting those calls. I personally think, though, there was a mixture of the free throws and the health. He doesn't seem explosive. He's never been explosive per se, but he was quick enough to get into you and past you because he's also very strong. He just looks strong now. The speed's not there. I think he was listed along with LeBron as among the slowest players in the NBA. Gobert was on that list too, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot to work on. I've always said that the Nets needed Kyrie to be successful. Probably won't be successful without him. We'll see how that all plays out because Harden, people have already started talking about he might be unhappy and might want to get out of there. I don't see it being that bad yet, but it ain't good. It ain't good. So one of the things, as I wrap this up, that is good about covering two teams is that in basketball, there's never a shortage of what to write about. I mean, there's some moments where you don't know how to present it, but it's usually something you have a topic in mind. What sucks is when both of those teams lose, you got to write those scathing reports of where they've dropped the ball. Oh man, this is about to be a tough one as the Atlanta Hawks got, I don't say blown out, but man, they did not fare well against who the heck did they play? Oh my goodness, this blanked out real quick against the Washington Wizards, who took it to them 111 to 122. On the road, Hawks have had some really confusing losses. Both of the losses. The first one was to Cleveland, a team that they should have beaten, but the length bothered them, and whatever. It is what it is. They only scored 95 points in that game. And this one, they lost by 11 because they gave up 122. And I wrote the night before about how they were getting out the slow starts, shooting like 35% in the first quarter. But they were up there in attempts. Well, those attempts were falling tonight, and they were like 50% and 50% or something. It was like 46 and 50%, I think. Was it 46 and 42? Something like that in the first half? 50 and 42? Something. I think it was 50 and 46 or 50 and 42, something like that from the floor and from three. But they were allowing the Wizards to knock down everything. You can't trade buckets. And I'm at the point, and I know it's so early that I'm crazy for it, but I'm at the point now where I'm seriously wondering if they should switch it up and let Cam start at 2. I know people are gonna be like, he doesn't shoot well to start at 2. I think there's enough. I think he shoots well enough to start at 2 with Trey and John Collins on the floor and Hunter as well. But I think because they've been kind of sluggish and a little bit slow to start, and I don't even mean like production wise. I mean just like they look like they're flat coming out of the gate. And so you put a guy like Reddish in who's shown that he's aggressive. I think that can change the whole demeanor of the team. I just thought, I know, again, it's very early, so I doubt that they make any type of switches of that magnitude, but one to keep an eye on as, you just keep seeing the Hawks. They were playing down to their competition before. They're not locked in the entire game, and I think that's where the big problem is. Kevin Huerter, big goose egg in this game. He's been a big disappointment to start the season. Not even going to lie. Big disappointment to start the season. So, got to clean that up, man. Not looking good. The Bulls also lost to the New York Knicks. This one is a little bit different. I feel like the Bulls lost more than the Knicks won. They battled back from down 10. They were down like a dub. And then they just battled and chipped and worked their way back into it and got down to 1 with like a minute left or a few seconds left on the clock and turned Julius Randle into a brick machine at the free throw line, which was just amazing. I think it had to do with him being out of rhythm offensively all night, but he missed both free throws. Bulls down 1, come back, they get an ATO in. It's a Zach and DeMar DeRozan action where they bring the screen at the top and try to do the dribble handoff, it looked like. But Zach, this is per Will Purdue at the end of the game, this part here, says that Zach didn't necessarily hand the ball off properly, and that may have, disrupted things. I personally think that, I'm not going to challenge what we do. My thought was that when I saw it happen was that DeMar's intent was to give the ball back to Zach, but when he pump faked, I think he overthought the situation in the clock and didn't think he'd have enough time to pass it and pull it and have Zach pull the shot and still have a good enough time. He didn't do it. Whatever, the Bulls lost. It's also a shot that he can make. So I'm not ready to write the Bulls off yet. I know there's going to be a ton of that tomorrow. I told you they weren't that good. They fought their asses off to get back in that game. And on a night where you had 3 former Bulls and Joakim Noah, Derrick Rose, and head coach Tom Thibodeau out there on their floor, on the UC floor to celebrate Joakim Noah becoming an ambassador for the team and the hanging of his jersey. They were on 10. The guys who actually played with Joe and know Joe were on 10 for that game. So listen, there's no moral victories. But you hung around with one of the playoff teams, come back better, come back sharper, and I'll have a full write up for Pippen Easy tomorrow at some point in time on Friday. Get Kobe White healthy. Get Patrick Williams healthy, because when he's aggressive, he can be good, but he's not aggressive enough to me. And maybe it's the injury is what's keeping him back this season, because he showed some glimpses in this game before going out with a wrist injury, which they'll see how long that holds him out for. But good grief. Because with him and Kobe down, not only are you lacking their contributions, but if you were interested in making a move, your two best trade chips are now on the shelf. This is not good. The one caveat or one word that I have for the Bulls is those moments where they're not getting the calls and things aren't going their way. They're not necessarily a physical team, and they don't strike me as one that'll be able to change the tone of a game if it isn't going their way in that regard. So that'll be my thing that I keep an eye on for the next couple of weeks here. But I'm not sweating this loss as much as I'm sweating how it happened, because on that dribble handoff play, or in that whatever that action was that they ran, I got to go back and watch that again too. But whatever the action was that they ran between the two of them, DeRozan has to get that ball back to Zach, especially when he pumps fakes, and then Vooch, as they mentioned in the broadcast, Vooch comes over to the corner and brings an extra defender with him after the pump fake or as the pump fake's happening. At that point, DeMar's got to just make it even a one motion play there and get it to Zach. But on top of it, he had Zach's man, Evan Fournier, coming in on him as he did the move. So it just did not seem right to go down that way. But that's how it's a long season. And 4-1 is nothing to sneeze at. So that's going to do it for this episode of Triple Zeros. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at JoshGBuck. Hit the Facebook page, Clocker Sports, website, clockersports.com, and the email address is clockersports@gmail.com. And of course, until the very... Oh, nope. Read the stuff, Last Word on Pro Football, Pippen Ain't Easy, Soaring Down South, and of course, Clocker Sports. And until the very next time, you already know what it is, man. I'm gone.